Welcome everyone to The Sensitivity Doctor. Today I have a dear friend of mine, Jess Hayden, who I have known for almost 2 decades now. And she is a fellow therapist in the area, psychologist, and I trust her so much I send clients to her. But we're not here to talk about therapy. We're actually here to talk about a topic that's a bit more controversial, and trigger warning, we talk about some heavy different traumas and things that we've both experienced in our own lives and just kind of in society as a whole, because we're talking about the control patterns of patriarchy. So if you want to know why people are feeling the way they do about this, if you want to identify what are some of our own preconceived notions and how are some of the psychological buzzwords you've heard like scarcity mindset and gaslighting and hysteria connected to this, this is an episode to get you thinking. So please open your mind, open your heart, and enjoy. Welcome, Dr. Jess Hayden, to the podcast.
Hi.
I'm super excited to have you. I'm excited because I think you're my official first, real level 1/2 circle friend coming to the pod.
Oh, yes.
So maybe I'll have to do
exciting.
a whole friend series. Okay. So can you tell everyone here a little bit about who you are and why we're friends?
Oh boy. Yeah. Who am I? You know, I recently heard someone say something like, when you ask someone, who are you, to try not to talk about what you do, like what your occupation is.
Yeah.
And I think, who am I? I am a super sensitive person who is on a mission to help people be less depressed, anxious, and to help people to learn how to communicate effectively, how to build positive, healthy relationships with each other, and to essentially help girls speak up for themselves, and how to help them have healthy boundaries and to say no to things, and for boys to help them learn how to talk about their emotions and to understand how they feel. And I just happen to be a psychologist as well.
And just happen to be my friend.
Yeah. Oh, right. And we are friends. We met through rugby in Rochester, but probably earlier than that, just didn't know it.
Yeah, I'm sure we were at similar similar tournaments, but yeah, because you were in Oswego?
I went to Oswego State University undergraduate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I played rugby at ECU too in my master's program.
Oh, okay. So wait, when you were at ECU playing, was I playing for Raleigh with the Venom, or was that not at the same time? I don't know when that was.
As I look at my degree here, 2000 to 2003 is when I was there. No, just kidding. Yeah, no, yeah, 2000 to 2003 is when I was there at ECU.
That was so you were there first, and then you went up to Rochester.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's
right, because you moved to Raleigh after we met.
That's right. Yeah, but I didn't know that you had been down here before you were in Rochester. Oh, weird. But you're from up there.
I'm from Rochester, New York. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. This place just sucks you back in.
No kidding. I would never go back to Greenville, North Carolina, but I certainly would come back to Raleigh again.
I mean, we were out in the mountains for a year. We tried out Asheville and I loved it so much, but something just sucked us back in here. It's I don't want to call it an easy place to live, but it kind of is. It's a very accommodating place to live.
Yeah, it is. Easy to get around, and everything is 20 minutes away, it feels like.
Virtually. Well, so even though we could totally shoot the, you know what, all day, you and I have a lot of similar passions when it comes to healing and helping, and even the kind of people we like to counsel and work with. And something I also really appreciate about you, and I think this is like a fellow HSP thing, is that we don't really love doing small talk. We just kind of like get right to the meat of something.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do today.
Great.
Awesome.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. So you brought up a topic to me because literally, guys, we could have talked about I don't know, 50 different things. So
Mhm.
you brought up a topic that I am so excited to talk about,
Yeah.
especially because of clients I work with, and even a
Yeah.
session today that happened that I wanted to talk about. So,
Mm.
generalized, talking
Yeah.
about our experiences in therapy without details, but
Yeah.
yeah. So lay it on me. What did you want to chat about?
So, recently in the political landscape that we have right now with the Epstein files, and there's a lot of kind of more power dominant structures that are in place. I have been really digging into this idea of getting rid of the patriarchy, which is a huge task. And what I have found, because I'm very active on threads recently, what I have found is that there's a huge misunderstanding about what the patriarchy is. I think when you say patriarchy, people say things like, oh, you want us to be more feminine. And I say that's not what the patriarchy is. And it's not about men. It started with men, but it's not about man hating. And I think that's an important key takeaway here, is that it's not about man hating. You know, it's a political and social system that centered around male dominance, authority, and control. And it started in when farming cultures were in place. And so within like the agricultural structure,
Okay, now
because of land
you
ownership.
piqued my interest. What do you mean? I can imagine, but I did not real. And how far back farming? Because farming,
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not
right?
really sure about the answer to that.
Hmm.
We could ask our great friend ChatGPT about that. But what I do know
I'm
is
looking.
that
I've used
more,
chat before. I asked chat for therapy once on one of my sessions here to see what it would do.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that it has changed the shape, and I really love Bell Hook's work. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
Oh, I think you would love her books. She's no longer with us. Was a
Well, you
Black
just
woman who
killed
was a
me
Black
because I wanted to
feminist.
ask him. And I was like, oh, maybe a podcast episode, but nope.
Oh yeah, sorry. She defines the patriarchy, and she was a Black female feminist scholar,
Hmm.
and she wrote lots of books. And she wrote a particular book that I'm really loving right now. It's called The Will to Change. And it's how, yeah, it's so great. It's how the patriarchy hurts men. So it's all about that. And she talks about Terry Real in there, and you know who he is, the kind of like this megastar in male psychology. But she says that the patriarchy is a system that insists males are inherently dominating and superior, and that dominance should be maintained through control, even psychological violence. And I just posted something on my threads. God, I think my phone is over on the here. Grab it. But I just posted something on threads that it was really, really, to me, like, this is something that she wrote. The first act of violence that patriarchy demands of males is not violence toward women. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic self mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves.
Mm. That reminds me a lot of Jacob Tobias' work. Do you know who Jacob Tobias is?
No, no.
So they are local.
Oh,
Yep. So you got to write down Jacob Tobias. They were on my
mhm.
podcast.
Oh, I think I saw that one. Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And they used to live out, West Coast, and now they're back, and just wrote an amazing book that you could probably get your hands on and have them on the podcast. But the whole perspective was the harm that patriarchy is having on men, not
Yes.
just the way that we're looking at it for women. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering if, for the sake of what I know, my guests, not my guests, but my listeners, what a lot of the people that listen to this podcast really appreciate is like a kind of the inside glimpse of the therapy room, and like what it feels like to
Hmm.
receive support, and to receive support that you might not either have access to,
Hmm.
or it's not within your cultural context, or you don't feel comfortable, or maybe you have a therapist and you want more of that kind of energy. So
Yeah.
I'm curious if we could take this topic and put it in the context of how we see this playing out in those rooms. Like, how do we see it
Mhm.
playing out in couples that we know, and how that we know, that you and I both
Yeah.
know because I've given you some. But like, how do we see this playing out in real life couples? And
Mhm.
not just heterosexual couples. This can be all different configurations.
Mhm.
However, I do see this often in heterosexual couples. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think what I notice most of all is that often, not just in couples, also with individual clients who come in, dads, I often do a lot of work with parents who don't have a clear idea of what they are feeling. They're not sure about what their emotions are. There's a lot of desire to control, and that's on both sides. And so I want to say not just with men, but with women too. And so that need to control is also considered a patriarchal structure, the need to control the outcome and to not let things flow. We have to make sure that everything is just so. With dads specifically, I see them struggle with allowing their boy children to do whatever they want to do. If they want to dress up in like a dress playing house, they get anxious about that. If they if they're not great at sports and they just like to play video games, there's an anxiety around it. A need, like we don't want our kid to get pushed around, to get teased. And what's interesting about that is that Terry Real, who is, our other guy and who's real good with men, he says that even for his own children, he could socialize them towards more what we would call maybe healthy masculine attributes and helping them learn how to talk about their feelings and letting them dress up in dresses or paint their nails if they wanted to. And once they go out into the world, they get teased for those things and it quickly gets shaped out of
Mm.
them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I see this not even just in these external like things like dresses and nail polish and
Hmm.
things that someone could see to pick
Yes.
on.
Hmm.
But I actually also see this. I mean, admittedly, I can't help but to say something I see in my own home where, and it's not really obvious, it's so subtle. This happened last night. So, my son, I don't really say them by name on here, but everyone knows I
It's
have a son and
okay.
daughter. And
Yeah.
my son is going through a phase. He's like around 5, and he's going through a phase where he does not want to be alone, like anywhere, like in
Hmm.
his room.
Hmm.
If you are
Hmm.
upstairs and you're leaving his room and you're going down the hallway to the other
Hmm.
room, like that feels scary. And so I'm downstairs. I think I'm like cleaning up the rest of I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing something before bedtime.
Yeah.
And I hear Andrew upstairs because I hear my son. Because I know you, I keep almost saying his name. I hear
Yeah.
my son crying, but it doesn't sound like he's like something
Yeah.
terrible's happening. It just sounds like bedtime whining, basically. And then
Hmm.
I heard Andrew, and he wasn't trying to be mean. He was consoling him in a weird way. He said,
Hmm.
"Dude, I'm right here."
Ah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Ugh." And so I went up and helped, and we did the thing, we did bedtime. And then after bedtime was over, and there might be some people listening thinking, well, what's the big deal? He was comforting him.
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, when our daughter was that age,
Hmm.
if she had been crying because she wanted you to be in the same room with her,
Mm.
you used to get down on her level and go, sweetie, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I said, even though you're trying, and he's such an emotionally available dad, like, and we don't care if you paint your nails, I mean, like, whatever.
Right.
I like whatever.
Hmm.
But it's still, even when you try to make these external moves to parent everyone against the patriarchy. I don't know what that would be, but
You,
parent
we all have it within ourselves
yeah. Yeah.
without even, I think, knowing it at times.
Mm.
Even, like think about internalized weight bias. How should women look? How we inject our faces with Botox to look younger, to look more feminine, to do whatever it is that we think men want. Aging, anti-aging, that's patriarchal. Waxing. Women are hairy. We have hair. It's true, like, and I think that we are so socialized into those things. And also, don't be such a baby, that you would say, like you said, like to your son, but not, you wouldn't say that to your daughter if she was crying at the same time. Like
Yeah, and
those
I
kinds of
mean, and
things
I will
people might
say
say.
he was listening, he was open to it, and he's kind of like,
Yes.
oh, like Andrew was frustrated with himself for
Hmm.
making that gut
Yeah.
reaction. And
Yeah.
it's not, and this is the thing, it doesn't even always come in the form of very obvious, like I wouldn't consider what he did abusive or harm,
Hmm.
but like
No,
it wasn't to
no,
cause harm.
no.
It's like a natural way of caring for. But
Hmm.
what if he had gotten on his level? And what if he got that from the male figure in his house instead of the female figure coming in to provide it?
Right.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, when going to keep referencing bell hooks because I'm on to her right now, she would say that actually, the one of the most, I think, like, single parent household with women as a single parent, we typically, what we see is more patriarchy instilled in the boys if they're raising a boy, because they are afraid of whatever society says about a single mom
Mm,
raising a wuss of a boy.
gotcha.
Or, yeah, it's very interesting
Mhm.
to see that opposite of what
Like
what we would maybe think.
overcompensation almost.
Overcorrection. Yeah.
Overcorrection.
Yeah,
Mhm.
overcorrection. And so there's a lot of subtle ways in which I think we play along with the patriarchal. Just here's another example I think is really interesting. And I know we wanted to talk about in the therapy room, but think about this: with all of the Epstein things happening, who's the only one who was in jail?
A woman.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Mhm.
All of the other people have not actually been held accountable for their actions, except for Jeffrey Epstein. He's no longer with us.
Mhm. Right.
So it's just really interesting how that is that's has played out as well.
Mhm. I mean, if you look at, oh, by the way, I looked up farming.
Hmm.
It was about 10,000 years ago.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I love
Yeah.
when you get to like psych nerds in the room and we're like,
Hmm.
yeah, farming. How long ago was that? It's like, well, as long as people
Yeah.
were eating.
Yeah, it's so also what I took this when I lived in Rochester. I took a Jungian psychology. I don't know. We actually started out with A New World with Eckhart Tolle. We were going to do a book review, a book club, and it turned into this whole Jungian psychology thing. And she says that the patriarchy started when we started to write words down, because in a sense, like, writing is capturing the story. So it's like containing a story into letters and word form, which I thought was really fascinating too.
Hmm. So I wonder if you wanted to see, I don't know if it's the opposite. I don't know if it's the deconstruction. I think we almost
Hmm.
even would do society a benefit by having an alternative word potentially than
Yeah, I agree.
patriarchy, because I think it's not
Hmm.
capturing what you're saying is basically control culture,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Hmm.
It is, and women are complicit. Like, if we think about even The Handmaid's Tale, women are complicit. They are out of fear or out of social structure. It's a way of staying alive in
Well,
some ways.
that's interesting. I actually had just read, well, it's by the time this comes out, I think the post will come out. Have you read Judith Herman's trauma book?
No.
It will blow your mind. It's
Okay.
so amazing. And she starts off in the first chapter
Hmm.
talking about the difference between the victim and the perpetrator, and
Mm.
how, and she's talking about like abuse and sexual abuse, but really when we're talking about control societies, that's where the abuse begins. So in it, she's saying the victim, let me back it up. The perpetrator actually
Hmm.
asks nothing of us because the perpetrator feeds into the idea of see no evil, speak no evil. Like it, all they want is for us, the bystander, to do nothing.
Right.
Whereas the victim or the target or the survivor is actually asking us to show up and to do something.
Yes.
And because of that, it's more cumbersome, it's more painful, it's more taxing, more stressful to deal with the victim than it is to align with the perpetrator.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was a school psychologist in my past life in
Mm-hmm.
Rochester City School Districts. And
And when I met
I
you, I
was,
think you were, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. And I was an Olveus bully prevention like facilitator for my school. And one of the Olveus bully prevention, you know, techniques is to train the bystanders in how to stand up. That was the whole program was bystander, like getting the bystanders to be more proactive, helping them not be afraid to step up. Because once the bystanders step up, then we actually have an equal playing field, and the bully is going to step down because now it's more people against the one.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense, but it's
Yeah,
who's going to be our bystanders that.
right.
So then if you look at what's happening today, and we'll come back to the therapy room in a little bit,
Hmm.
but I feel like
Yeah,
we're journeying outside the room again, which I like.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
when you look at what's happening in our country today, there is
Hmm.
this like explosion of all these things that were acceptable. Like, when I even think about like growing up, did you watch the documentary about Woodstock 99?
Maybe. I probably did.
For anyone who hasn't watched it, if you want to see a vision of what like repressive male anger looks like,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yep, I do know. I
it's
saw it.
just like, and I'm not saying I love aggressive music. Like I remember
Mhm.
the Brockport team would always sing "Body Keeps a," or I don't think I was gonna say "Body Keeps a Score."
But
That was
that's
a
also
vessel joke.
patriarchal.
Yeah.
That's also patriarchal, just an aside. Keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm all for whatever, but the whole thing was that I remember growing up when we grew up, I think like I'm a couple years behind you, but in the same era,
Mhm,
of course,
mhm.
that it was normalized to have. I'm just going to be really like assertive here with what I say. It was normalized to like have a guy walk down the hallway in high school and smack a girl on her butt. Like it was
Yep,
just like, oh, did you see what he did?
yep. It was normal.
It was
Or
normal. I
mhm.
remember that.
I actually had a guy in my math class grab my breast, and I slapped him, and I got in trouble for slapping him in the face. Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Right. So
So
I'm glad that I think I believe we're shifting away from that being normal, but we have
mhm.
like so far to go, which
Yeah.
is interesting because in the therapy room, like so if we were going to connect the two,
Mhm,
I'm starting to see these different kind of trauma experiences for people who have experienced these different layers, like maybe those of us who it was normalized and the Me Too movement like
mhm,
unveiled the cloak from all
mhm.
of that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
even those now who are kind of being almost made fun of for trying to like correct this.
yeah. What is interesting, Amelia, is as you were talking, I was thinking about I had a conversation with my mom last night, and she's 82 years old. And I said to her, have you been following what's going on with the Epstein files? And she said, I don't understand why it's relevant to us. And
What?
I thought to myself, wow, like that is the age difference because she grew up in the 50s and 60s. And that it doesn't make sense to her as to why it would be relevant to all of us. And well, it was just interesting. Like that the whole point of this is that there are a lot of men who are in power, who are abusing their power to hurt women and boys too. Not just women, sorry, children,
Yes.
children,
Mhm.
not and women, I should say, women and children. hmm So I just thought that was really fascinating because of all people, I actually thought that she would be like, yeah, it's really messed up.
You know, it's crazy when you were just talking about that. Like, I remembered when I was younger, I danced
hmm
competitively from like the age of
hmm
3 to college and then a little bit in
You did? I
college.
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Cool.
was at like in my area. We were at Star Search. I was not. I was too young. It was like
Oh,
the teenagers. We were
cool. Star
very
Search. That's so old.
I
I can't
know. But
believe it.
like I said, I was too young to be on it. I was like in elementary
Yeah.
school or something when they were on Star Search.
hmm
But one of the teachers, you probably know where this is going, unfortunately, one of the male
Mm.
teachers there got accused, like rightfully accused of statutory rape of one of the students.
hmm hmm
He was gone for the summer
hmm
and then he was back.
Oh.
Do you know what kind of like messaging that sent?
Oh, it's
Like, there's so
awful.
much wrong with that. There's so much wrong with
So
that.
much. Yeah. It's not right.
So I think we have to be having these conversations. And
We do.
I bet there's I bet you there are people who have
hmm
turned this episode off because they're like, this is too much. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to
I
talk
hope you
about
don't.
this. But don't, because I want to ask you, like, if we think about why we know why it's important we talk about this stuff, because
hmm
if anything, I think I'm kind of giving these comparison points to say like where we were
hmm
and where I hope we're heading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I didn't share this, but I do my own podcast too, the Simply Heard Space Between. And I've been interviewing a lot of different people. And what's interesting is in the athletic space, I did a whole episode on that. And then life and psychology in sex positive parenting and consent. And the fact that we didn't, and we were in college, there was no such thing as really consent. Is it okay if I hug you? We were forced, I was at least as a child, to go hug my grandparents, to hug men I didn't know, to say goodbye to them. Men I didn't know would kiss me on my cheek. And I think that also sends a message to little girls and or little boys that if someone of power asks something of you, you need to do it, even if you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So that's the other piece that I think is really important here. And so there's that part. And then also when I interviewed my friend Sean Brown, he did urban suburban program, and he was one of the few black kids in my very white high school, and he was bussed in from the city, and the differences there as well. And so the other piece of the patriarchy is that we are talking about, and this is one thing that people don't like to hear, but it is an imperialistic white supremacist kind of structure that we are, whether we know it or not, and not everybody, but if we as we go kind of up into the hierarchy of power, we we have to think about in the ways in which our own biases that are shaped up by by our society and by this more top power structure, how it creates harm in other people. And the one thing that I've noticed as I've been posting more and more about the patriarchy is Black women are saying to me, we've been telling you this for years. This country has been built on the patriarchy. If you think about Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers, and now we are reading history about them raping women, and Black women. And so I think there's a piece there that's very powerful, and there's a reckoning. And I think a lot of us, when we think about the patriarchy and how we have been complicit in it, there is a shame and a guilt that can go along with it. And you can either avoid it and say, you're wrong, you know, the, this is crazy. Boys don't need to act like girls, or whatever people are going to do. And I think that comes from a place of I can't see the shame in me about the things that I've done or the things that people around me have done. Or we can go, yeah, that's really messed up. Okay, I'm listening. I hear you. I have not, and I feel shame about that, and I need to do better.
I love that because you're not demanding. And I think this is important, especially for people that listen to this podcast who are
Hmm.
sensitive or have gone through their own trauma.
Yes.
What we're not saying is you don't need to start a riot. Like you don't have
Right.
to, start a nonprofit or sue
Hmm.
someone or throw red paint or I don't know, whatever. You don't
Yeah.
have to do those things. Just literally being open to listening is a huge amount of work, and it's important
Yes.
work.
It is important work. It is really hard to sit in that vulnerable place and hear other people speak about how they have been harmed by other people who look like me or who act like me. It's really hard to do that. And it's really important that we do that. And it's important that we listen to people. So
So I'm
that's where I land
curious.
there. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, I think that's like the beginning. That's like the door that
Hmm.
opens to how we
Yeah.
start working on this. So for any of you still listening, you're doing it. So good job.
Yes. Thank you.
But beyond that, so when I often think about control patterns, I think about like what is it about, like what fear does it elicit?
Hmm.
And like that keeps it going. And oftentimes it's the scarcity mindset,
Yes.
right? Not enough for me,
Hmm.
not enough for you, not enough for all of us of whatever, love,
Yeah.
money, resources, air,
Hmm.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the scarcity mindset and its role in these control patterns and patriarchy and what we can do about it?
So, I mean, what you were just talking about is patriarchy, right? The patriarchy rewards dominance, it rewards image, it rewards status, it rewards emotional invulnerability and superiority. And so I think that the piece of how do we get out of this scarcity mindset? How do we help people get out of that scarcity mindset? Ooh, isn't it leaning into uncertainty? Isn't it kind of more of a somebody said to me on Threads, like, "We need a different savior," and I was like, I don't like the idea of savior," but it is often, you think about people saying, I have to trust that the universe, like this is what the plan is, or this is what,
Right.
and if you're a believer in faith, this is what God wants, or this is the God that I'm, this is what I have to be doing. But there's an idea of also, if I share the wealth, and this could kind of be, I guess, a socialist ideal, but if I share the wealth, then we are all wealthy. We all get to eat. But if I
Right.
hoard the wealth, then only I and my family get to eat and no one else really gets to eat. So it's in a way, I think there's the idea of shared, more of a shared decision making, right? That's also anti-patriarchy, shared decision making, transparency in leadership. You see different business organizations saying, okay, we're going to tell everyone what your salary is because we're not going to hide that anymore. And I think one of the problems with that is that then you have to trust your neighbor.
Mm, that's true.
And
And
we
if you don't
don't,
know your neighbor, or you've been taught your neighbor
right.
is evil, wrong, dirty, like
Hmm.
whatever. Hmm.
Oh, they're all violent criminals. How could we trust anyone? And I think that's the piece that's really hard, is that we have to start to be able to build trust in each other. And we used to have societies that would raise children together.
Right.
We don't do that anymore. We're very isolated. We used to have extended family households that were more just plenty, and now you don't see that as much.
Hmm. Definitely. Well, and I would imagine that that probably would feed that scarcity, that fear of, okay, so
Yes.
what little I have to,
Hmm.
scurry it away and hoard it in order to make sure that I'm going to be
Yeah.
okay. Um,
Yeah.
I do think it takes a very honest person to recognize when these very natural patterns happen. Like
Hmm.
every single one of us is going to have a scarcity thought of some kind.
Yes. Of course.
And then
Yeah.
you get to decide when you have the thought whether that dictates the
Hmm.
next thing you do.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of I don't think it's a matter of I need to eliminate the thoughts because then they can become this resistance piece
Sure. Yep.
versus here's the thought.
Noticing the thought.
Right, right.
Oh, just had that thought. Interesting.
Mhm. And
Because
then
it's
what would be
there.
the
It's in our
ops
it's in our
action?
it's in our programming. It's in our
Mhm.
DNA.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
not something that I would expect that we're gonna just, you know, deconstruct in one lifetime. I imagine that it's an ongoing process for lifetimes because it got here somehow.
Well, and if you think about too, I think it was the year that, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but the year that my gaslighting book came out. Gaslighting was the word of the year that year. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember,
Hmm.
they whoa. I feel like
Yeah, I
one
did
year
it
I
on
had,
my TikTok a lot.
yeah,
Yep.
one
Hmm.
one year wasn't the word related to like Taylor Swift or something. I feel like there was a Swift
I don't
oriented
know.
word. Okay,
I don't know.
someone correct me, please, because I'm probably wrong. But and there was this like, where did this word come from? And it's like, guys, the word, well, first of all, anyone who asks me where it came from, I say it came from humans being
Right.
humans. So right, it came from the very beginning when these
Hmm.
control patterns needed a tactic, a
Right.
psychological tactic. But if you look at Judith Herman's book again,
Hmm.
she does such a beautiful job. You'll love the book. I would lend it to you, but I don't even know if I'll ever let it go because I'm like writing notes in it and everything.
It's
But
okay.
we'll do a book club. But
Okay.
like she starts talking about the very beginning of all the research done on women and their hysteria.
Yes, was going to talk about the hysteria and how women were made to look crazy, like quote unquote crazy. And because they were upset about something with which they have ever had every right to be upset about.
The interesting thing, though, to bring up that this control pattern impacts men
Hmm.
too, though, is that
Yeah.
she then took that same pattern and applied it to what happened after the World War when we were exploring shell shock
Mm-hmm.
and how they were literally forcing these soldiers not to emote, not to feel,
Oh,
not to express their traumas because it
mm-hmm.
was looked at as weak, because it was looked at as
Hmm.
a failure of morality. There was this crazy treatment that someone had done where they would shock the throat of one of the soldiers every
Oh my
time
God.
for, I think she said hours until he
Wow.
would speak, like until he was able and not speak
Like
like
negative
express.
reinforcement, like a shock
Yes.
collar for a dog. Hmm.
Yes, exactly. And so these control patterns, I think I really wish, can we just come up with a new term for for patriarchy so it's like a one size fits
Hmm.
all, but yeah, let's do it. So,
Well, what's interesting is because I told you I'm very active on Threads, but someone said to me, they said, I think we should come up with a different name. And I said, well, I like that idea. And at the same time, I do think that it dilutes the historical underpinnings of the
yeah,
word.
you're right.
And honestly, it's hard because I don't want to maybe this is how patriarchy has shaped me. I don't want to offend white men. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to say this has impacted you as well. And here's how. And like even if we look at, how has it impacted men? Well, if we're talking about emotional suppression and not communicating your feelings or your wants or your needs, like think about the kind of old joke, men don't ask for directions. They don't
Or
ask
they
for
don't
help.
need an umbrella
Yeah, they don't ask for
or
help,
pants
period.
when
And
it's
that's
10 degrees out. No, just
and
kidding.
yeah, right. So we have a higher
Yeah.
incidence of suicide in men. Also,
Absolutely.
because they use lethal measures
Hmm. But also
and more
because they're
lethal
lonelier.
measures, lonelier, more depressed, and they don't ask for help. We also have a higher incidence of heart disease and cardiac arrest. And if you are suppressing your emotions and you're not talking about it, you're increasing stress. And there's also more hypertension in that area. So it does. It literally impacts men's health.
Well, and if
And
we got
so,
even more nerdy about it, we could look at telomeres, which are,
yes.
right, the little, I kind of equate them to what it would look like if you looked at the end of a cable wire and there's a
Hmm.
little cap on it. That little cap is made of our DNA. And as we
Yes.
age, it starts to be, it gets destroyed and it dies off. They have found in their studies of blue zones that the most common predictor of longevity, yes, things like diet and
Hmm.
movement and
Hmm.
sunlight and all of this are huge proponents, not, in drinking alcohol all the time and all of that. But the biggest predictor is community.
Yes.
That is what keeps
Interesting.
you young, you
That's
know?
so it makes sense. You
Hmm.
have people around you
Hmm.
to help you out in
Right,
whatever way you need.
right. Our
Um,
biology knows that. Like we need that connection. I can't
mhm,
imagine. It makes me sad to think about especially sensitive men
mhm.
because HSPs are evenly spread among both genders. It is
Yes.
not, there are not more men than women, but men have stereotypically scored themselves lower
Mhm,
than women. And so they don't realize that they're highly sensitive. Scored meaning like on Dr. Aaron's
mhm,
assessment that she used to have, hers has been renormed to use for
mhm.
studies. I now have my own. Folks, go on ameliakelley.com and do yours
Awesome.
today. But yeah, it's interesting to see the difference between men's perception of their sensitivity
Mhm.
versus women's.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I also think about in HSPs the shame, this
Mhm.
the intensity of shame and what we know about men and shame and how
Mhm.
shame creates avoidance.
Mhm.
There's this a lot of such a stronger tendency to avoid feeling emotion and feeling like that emotion is going to quite literally kill you. You're going to die if you feel it because it's so intense. And just the, I don't know, I can tell you the number of men who I have dated who don't have the emotional literacy or the vulnerability or are afraid of me judging them for being vulnerable.
I hope, like, I can say this as someone raising a boy that I hope is becoming, has models, not just me modeling, but the men that we choose to keep in our social circle,
Yeah.
who, tend to
Hmm.
be expressive and intellectual and actually, like, will engage in meaningful conversation because as you can all tell, I am attracted to friends who like to have meaningful conversations and it's so I love that. Like, I love that. I hope that we're raising a generation that will have boys who are expressing what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Because that's feelings. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Feelings are not feminine. Like,
No, they're inherent to our who we are as humans.
right. They're biological. They're
Mhm.
experiential. They're neurological. They're all the things. And so when you try to ascribe a gender to a feeling, it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
It doesn't even make sense. I hope that we're going to raise boys who show up for the next level of like working through this. But what worries me are the outliers who are being taught even stronger versions of like fear and scarcity around this, like the kind of extreme other end.
Mhm.
And I hope that someone is there to like tell them it's okay not
Yeah.
to follow the path that has been put out for thousands of years.
I I think my biggest fear is what I've seen recently is there's a lot of male bashing, and I understand why we wanna
Mhm.
do that. I think, women are saying we've really been hurt by men, and
Mhm.
we're done with it. Like what's the test, the bear or the man in the woods?
Mm.
Which would a woman choose, the bear or the man? Women choose the bear.
Uh-huh.
And I think what's important to me especially is, and I don't know, like I know online engagement is kind of weird, and we experience lots of trolls around there, but there are men who will
If you
pop
have
off.
30 friends and you're not following anyone, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But there'll be people who kind of pop off and try to, I would say, like make me feel small about what I've posted about the patriarchy. And instead of smashing back, I like to model what I would like to see and say something like, I'm curious about where you're coming from. And so instead of people bashing men, and again, like I can understand why we do that. I think it's really important to say, I'm really curious why you thought that was okay to do. And because I do think that a lot of the men who commit, I don't know, I guess, crimes against women or against boys or against girls, it's not that they don't know any better. I just think that they had really poor social models. And also, what's really important here is that boys historically are punished for tenderness. Their vulnerability is framed as weakness.
Yep.
Emotional restriction is rewarded. Intimacy with other men is suspect. Like we don't, oof, that's not okay. That's too gay.
Yeah.
Which, I
Well,
mean, you and I don't care
no, but do you know what's
about that.
crazy? Because I do think
Mhm.
some of this is cultural too, because
Yes, it
um,
is cultural.
it is cultural because not when I studied abroad, I volunteered in Africa
Mm.
for a summer, like right after I met Andrew. I met him. I was like, okay, by the way, I'm leaving this summer for Africa. Hopefully that's okay with you. If it's not, I'm probably not your woman. But I remember having like, I was shocked when I saw how the men there were with each other because they would hold
Mhm,
hands, they would hug, they were really physically close with each other. And it was so weird to me in the early 2000s, mid 2000s to like go and see that as an American woman who
mhm.
was so used to like the version of like hyper masculinity that was being like enforced here. It was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was odd for me even as a woman. I had to like contend with that.
I'm so glad that you just brought that up because now you're really pointing out to me that I'm talking about this from a heteronormative white female lens, and how, yes, yes, other
That's going to be the
cultures,
real right there when you just say yes.
yeah, other cultures, I mean, other cultures are
Mhm.
different in this. I had an old housemate, and she is Iranian, and she would say, "No, we always kiss each other on each cheek, hello and goodbye." And I thought that was just really interesting because that wasn't my whatever my at that time my stereotyping mind was thinking about.
Well, even rugby. Like I remember
Yes.
when I played in London, we all went to the locker room and just got ready. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like
Yes.
open, like everyone's just showering and walking around. And I'm thinking
Mhm.
American women would never do that at a
No.
And
Yeah.
it kind of speaks to like if the more repressed and tightened up a society is, it's almost like the more in line with this whole patriarchy control pattern we're
Mhm.
talking about, it probably is.
Well, yeah, and I mean, think about this too, the witch hunts,
Mhm.
puritanical witch hunts, that was all patriarchal suppression of women who were knowledgeable about medical
Mm.
things.
Oh, they would have hated us.
Yeah, they would've. We would've definitely burned the stake.
No. No, that's the real for the video. So let me ask you, because I feel like I could probably talk forever with you about this, but
Yeah.
alas, we are rounding the corner of the end of our chat.
Yes.
I'll have to have you come back on to talk like therapists sometime. That'll be fun. I like
Yeah.
I was telling you before we got started. I was like, I had some questions, but I'm just gonna like go with it and see where we go. What would be something that someone who has been on this journey, this conversation with us, the ups and the downs, the whole like everything we've been talking about, that you would just love for them to like take from this conversation and maybe
Hmm.
share with someone or take from it and like when I say internalize, I mean like just kind of feel it and own it.
I think that patriarchy narrows all of us. We are all in it. It's not a gendered thing. And if you live in the United States, let's be clear about that one. It tells women their value declines with age. It tells men their value declines with vulnerability. And neither is true. And actually, the patriarchy is opposite of love because love requires vulnerability, it requires communication, it requires being open,
Yeah.
it requires trust. And, I think about like the control is the closed fist versus the open hand of
Yeah.
allowing freedom.
Hmm. Agreed.
So I think that's something that I would like to land with. And if you're a parent, to be gentle with yourself because we've all been there in the
Hmm.
moments where you, like you're talking about with Andrew and your son, and also notice when your own, thoughts come up
Hmm.
and you notice you're about to say something, you have an urge to say, and like think about where is that coming from?
Yeah.
And also with your partners, where is this coming from? Where's this idea of what they should be doing or what should be happening coming
Right.
from? I don't know if that's
No, I love
what you were looking
that.
for.
I know, I absolutely love that. And I think it's to bring up the example one last time with Andrew, who we've like used as a
Mhm.
case study today. Sorry, Andrew. Is that I couldn't have brought that up if I felt like he was going to punish me or
Mhm.
control me
Mhm.
or be angry with me for telling the truth about what happened. It was a small moment.
Right.
And the fact that when I did bring it to his attention, he didn't berate me or gaslight me. He actually put his own hand to his own head and thought,
Mhm.
"Oh man, yeah, I should work on that." And
Yeah.
that's what we're all here to do is to notice
Yes.
that these patterns exist. We have our internal experiences, and if you could
Mhm.
just put your hand on your head or your heart and just take a moment and just think, "Oh man, I got to work on that."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I did wanna say one other thing is that when you talked about the book club, I actually am starting a book club
oh
with.
yes, okay. So this is perfect because
Yeah.
I normally end my episodes by asking what you would like to share with the audience and how they can stay connected
Mhm.
to you. So, you have the floor.
Yeah. So I am starting a book club with someone who I met on Threads, and he lives in Charlotte,
Mhm.
and his name is Alex Vigilante, which is a great name,
That's a super
and
awesome name.
it's a great name.
Like, what would I do? What career would
Yeah,
I do if that was
right?
my last name?
And we have it's funny because we are going to start a book club on kind of dismantling the patriarchy. So we're going to read Bell Hooks and we're going to read a few other ones. And we
Oh,
were just
cool.
talking the other day about how can we make, because both of us were like, oh, we're both white. You're a white guy, I'm a white woman. How do we
Mm,
make sure that this is a conversation that is also very, what do I want to say? Hetero? No, homogeneous.
mhm.
Not
Well, you already
heterogeneous.
got that, but
Yeah, we have that. More homogeneous and in nature. And so that's happening. And then he does men's retreats. He does
oh,
men's
cool.
work retreats, which is really cool. And my hope is to eventually start designing my own women's retreat on self-abandonment and.
Love that.
Mhm.
Well, are you going to give me the info for, or maybe you already did for the book club? Because I'll make sure we share it in the notes
I will. I
for
will.
people to join. When does it start?
We're starting out small, and then
Okay.
we want to kind of do like
You're
a
like, it's just
pilot.
the two of us.
No, we want to do like a pilot thing to see, because actually in the deconstruction of the patriarchy, we were talking about like, well, how do we create buy-in, but also reward people for showing up and doing this hard work? And we were like, do we just do like a collective, everybody pitches in like a certain amount of money, and then and then every single time you show up, we divide that amount that was designated for that session into everybody who shows up, so that it's not like we get paid for doing this thing, but we all
Yeah.
get paid for showing up.
It's very
Anyway,
socialist of you.
very socialist of us. But anyway, yeah, I will give you that information. And then I am on Instagram at Dr. Jess Hayden.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Jess Hayden, for coming to the show, and you'll have to come back. And
I would love to.
I really want to thank every single one of you who opened your minds and took the time to hear the conversation. And I can't wait to hear how you take it into your lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be well, everyone.
Me too.